Forest fires are the biggest and concerning problem nowadays because when fire catches inside forest, it's going to be very uncontrollable to handle that kind of scenario. And people are using and organizations are using AI, artificial intelligence, into those kind of AIs as well. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to understand how we can predict the area or the forest areas which are burnt using our CatBoost regressor algorithm, and let's explore that right now. So let us talk about our how we are using CatBoost regressor for our forest fire dataset. So let's understand our dataset overview and let's explore the things. So the first part is we are going to import our base libraries. So we did that. That's the basic step, guys. First we have to get our base libraries. Then whenever proceeding or progressing, based on our requirement, we need to import our libraries. People are using, all the libraries at the starting itself most of the times, but I am following this path or this method. Now we will understand the data set. So this data set contains these many variables. So you can see that I have x, y. So x is nothing but the coordinates, y axis is the coordinates, then month of the year, in which month that incident happened, day of the week, then FMC, it's index. Okay, then DMC, again it's an index. It's a FWI system. Then ISI is again is an index, and you can see the range. The range is it varies based on the kind of index. Then RH. RH is the relative humidity in that particular area. Then again it ranges from 15 to 100. Then we have wind speed. Wind speed is again 0.4 to 9.4, and you can see these are my different units. So it's in kilometer per hour. Humidity again it's in terms of percentage. This ISI index is in Celsius degree. Then rain, outside rain, again rain is getting controlled by mm per meter square, that's an unit. And area, this is our target, and this is the range 0 to 1090.84, and it's in hectare. 1 hectare is equal to 10,000 square meter square. 10,000 square meter square. Or you can say that 10,000 square meter or 10,000 meter square, you can say in that way. So our target is area. Then we will understand our how we are importing our CSV, or how we're reading our CSV. Then this I wanted to show the max columns, so for that I have set my max columns. Then this is the head, and my head contains these kind of data. So mostly it looks like number, only 2 categories are present. Then we'll understand our data.info. So this is my data.info, and we can clearly see that we have 517 entries, and we do not have any null values because all are equally distributed and all have equally filled data. And we have 3 kind of data types present: int, object, and float. And this is the way we can check our null value is present or not. So we did that. Then this is the shape, and we have 13 columns present and 517 rows. So this is a tupled format of presenting of our data. Then we are understanding our describe, data.describe, and this is my x, y. Then all the numerical columns are present in my descriptive statistics. Now as we are working on CatBoost, so I am segregating my numerical columns and my categorical columns, and we are using D types. We are using select D types. We are filtering out our numerical columns if we are using number, and we are filtering out categorical columns if we will use include equal to category from object. So this is what I got my categorical columns. These are my categorical columns. As we do not have any heavy categorical columns, we will see how we are getting the output here. And this is the box plot for all, and this is the heat map. So you can see that most of the features do not have any interrelated, do not have any much dependency on each other. But let's explore on our practical part, or how our model is getting trained and getting predicted output. We are importing our CatBoost library. So this is my CatBoost library. We are importing it. Then we are importing our regressor and pool. Then this is the model selection, sklearn model selection. Then this is the metrics. And in my metrics, I'm getting my square error and the R2 score. And we are getting our feature, like independent features, and our target. So my independent feature does not contain area, and because that's my target column, and this is my target column. We know next what are the things we have to do is, this is a small data set. I have taken the test size as 0.3. That means 30% of my data should go into my validation page or my test page or my unseen data, and 70% I am planning to train in this data set. Then these are my categorical features, and we know how we are getting it, right? So this is how I can get my categorical features. I have just taken a list. Then now we are initializing our CatBoost regressor. So you can see that what are the factors it is, we are importing. So the first one is the cat model, right? So we are initializing our object of CatBoost regressor, that is CatBoost Classifier. So we have iteration, that means number of trees, then learning rate, that's nothing but a step size. It is handling the how my gradient is increasing stepwise till the point where it is converging. Then depth of each tree, then regression loss. This is nothing but my RMSE. We have taken MSE, so RMSE is nothing but root mean square error, right? So eval metric, it's same, RMSE, then random seed 42, then verbose 100. I already explained what is the meaning of 100. That means it is going to give me the timings and the process, how it is happening on every 100 iterations, so that we can track what is the accuracy level we are getting at each 100 iterations and all. Then we are training our model with fit, and we are passing our X train and Y train, right? Then we are getting our CAD features, categorical features. We have taken eval set, X test and Y test. If you want, you can create pool. However, I have just called pool, but I have not used, because I want to show one example for pool and one example for straight. You can do this way as well. X train and Y train, and in eval set, that means I'm telling what is my evaluation set. Eval set means I'm telling on what I am evaluating. As I'm taking my training data, on my test data I have to evaluate, right? So eval set, that's nothing but my X test and Y test. If it is a pool, we need to mention train pool and test pool. So here my train pool will come, and here my test pool will come, and we already saw that. And use best model, that should be true. And you can see that the way I mentioned, let's explore this. So this is my first iteration, and after 100th iteration, this is the learning rate, and or I can say this is my seconds. Then this is the test set, like whatever accuracy I'm getting, test accuracy I'm getting it, best is this one. Then total time it takes, then what is the remaining time left. Similarly, for 100th iteration, we have again, this is the learning rate, then we have test accuracy, then we have best accuracy, then this is the time and remaining time. So just the way we are we understood it during our classifier, it's the same thing. However, we have taken the n estimator is 1000, there we have taken the n estimator is 500, and we can see the best test we got 89.00. that means this is the best accuracy we are getting on our test data, and this is the best iteration. That means around 191 iteration number of 191th number of iteration, I am getting this best score. That means, if I'll go ahead as well, like the way I told, that we can stop the iteration at that point, because it's not going to perform more better, because that's the best it has given. The model is trained, that's the best way the model is trained, and it won't increase after that. So you can see, to prove that, you can see that even my test got 90.07, then like it's increasing, right? I mean, it's increasing and again it's decreasing. Because it has reached to its maximum limit. It is not going to take anymore. That's the highest. That's the best score it has got. So we got that. Then after that, we are going to make predictions. So this is my prediction on test data. Then this is my evaluator, evaluating our performance or evaluating our accuracies. So here my MSc, this my RMSc, then R2 score. So we can see that I'm printing my RMSc. So 89.0084. Let me just see that. Yeah, so the same thing we got 89.0084, 89.0084. R2 score is 0.0045, which is good. So it will just, square it up. It's very minimal error, if you see that. Then importance, we are getting our feature importance, which is important part. So usually, basically, we, for the other, boosting techniques, we have seen that, this particular method is changed. There it is a feature underscore importance underscore, and we are getting it. So here we have get feature importance as a method. So here you can observe one important point, which is prettified equal to true. What is the meaning of that? What could be, like, what it could lead? Prettified equal to true means it is going to tell my system that you just need to segregate your feature IDs and your importances, and you need to keep it in a tabular format. And the same thing we are able to see here, right? We are seeing feature ID and importances. We have seen one example during our classifier without prettified equal to true. So there, if it was not mentioned, that means by default it's a false. And we saw that it's just giving the feature IDs and the scores. That's it. It is not segregating in this way. It's just numpy list. That's it. So the meaning of that is same. Like when we are using prettified, we are just going to get a clean tabular format. Whenever it is false, it's going to be the list, numpy list. That's it. And if you want to check more on that, then you can just come here, like the way I said that get feature importance, you can type, and I have already opened it. You can see that these are the default values it is considering. So you can see data equal to none. That means that's a default. Reference data none. Then type we have then prettified. So you can see one prettified equal to false. That's by default. Then thread count -1. I think this is the parallel processing. Verbose by default it's false. Log C out, sys std out. Then so out of this the important factor which you can use during, like, when you're working on this get feature importance or CatBoost. So that's what the meaning of it. Then we will see and we will understand which feature has more importance. So we can see DMC is, again, that's a factor, right? So that's taking, higher importance. Then you will see the top 5, these are my top 5. So temperature, month, RH, X, that's a coordinate, day, and, till Y, you will see these are the maximum features which are considering or which are contributing more in, predicting the output. Then we understood till feature importance. Now we will understand the SAP concept. So like I already mentioned, this is one of the new concept which I have explained during our theoretical and practical. So we will implement the same thing here. So I already said how to import our library. If it is not, you just need to use pip install SAP shap. So we are importing SAP. There inside my SAP, I have all these methods. So I already have shown during our previous video, like how to check all these things from your documentation. So you can do that. So I am getting my explainer. So what my explainer is doing, it will take all the readings. It will take the type of leaf. It will take this number of splits from this model. Why I am passing this model? Because it will take all the details from this model. And we are using tree explainer because we are using our tree based algorithms. If it is a linear, then it's going to be linear explainer. right? And if it's deep learning, then we have a deep explainer. So we have different categories of explainer, which says how we are getting our output or how my prediction is happening. What are the contributions in that prediction? So now I'm getting my SAP values. So I already said that how we are getting our SAP values. So it will take all, right? And it will just try to, get the SAP, then features. This is the way. Then after that, we are going to combine them in your data frame by using feature, then value, then SAP contribution. And we are getting our values here, right? Our absolute value. So this is my, different SAP values. So you can see whatever we have seen. This is the feature, this is the value, that like this for one row I am showing you, right? The first row of my test data set. Then we can see further on my summary plot. What my summary plot is saying, that we are using our plot type bar, and we are saying, okay, which is contributing more in this. So if you see my SAP, my X and DMC already we saw, but X even is taking more contribution, like that coordinate or that place where it is happening. That is also taking a great role in my predicting the output. Then we have DMC, then month, then temperature, RH, day, and we will take till Y. So this is the way we are getting our summary plot. Then I have already explained how we are getting our visualization. So we have to get JS visualizer, and we are getting our force plot. And my force plot is saying that we have to get our expected value. Expected value is what? My base value. Then this is my SAP values, all my SAP values for one row I'm going to get. Then I'm going to get my test. That means all the columns of my first row. So you can see that I'm getting my 9.18 is the final value which I got, and I will show you the conversion below, how we are getting 9.18. So you can see these are the different factors, right? I mean, temperature, RH, X and DMC are my positive indicator, and wind, DC, day and month are my negative indicator. Like my prediction will go in a positive direction if I'll go towards this, like my X, DMC, RH and temp. If my prediction will go down, if we'll go ahead with wind, DC and day and month, right? Now we will understand how we are getting our values. So there we have used this log loss and all. Here it is not needed. We will just simply take our base value, then we will add base value plus our SAP value, then that's it. We will get our output. So how we are getting it? What is my base value? That's my expected value. Explainer dot expected value. So I'm getting my base value as 11.64. Then I'm getting my total, the SAP value. So that's coming like whatever the values we saw, that list. If we aggregate it, we are getting minus 2.46. Then my final prediction of area on acres is 9.18. That means for first row, what is the area of burnt is going to be my 9.18 acres, right? And this is how it's predicting my output, or we are getting our output. And I have shown you one more step. You can just save this model. You can create one of your own new data set by, just inserting 5, random values, and you can save that, file as a CSV. Then you can load that CSV. You can predict the output, and you can see the same prediction here. And this is how we can implement our CatBoost regressor. And with this, guys, we have completed our, the boosting techniques and, the whole ensemble techniques we have completed. And we will understand further topics. And the topics are going to be on class imbalance, which is a very important aspect on understanding how my classes are getting considered. If we have imbalances, how we can, control that by, oversampling, undersampling, smooth technique. We have so many things to explore. So we will do that. And guys, start subscribing if you really like the content. And I know you like the content, so just go ahead and do that. Like, share your comments, share your valuable feedback, and share this channel link to all your friends and near ones, so that they can also learn at the same time. And see you, and let's talk during our next video. Thank you.